4. What's going on, gentlemen?
What's going on there, Josh Snyder?
Game 5, Loopers for Life, powered by Talgrace Media and Marketing. I'm pumped up. Great Derby week. I mean, how about you, bub?
Yeah. Wonderful.
Did you have fun?
I did, actually. It was a nice, it was a fun race. Actually, the Oaks was a pretty fun race, too.
Well, and anytime, around this part, I mean, like we talked about last week, it always just kind of kicks it off, and it kicks off the golf season. And so, what a perfect weekend. We haven't had a good Derby in a while. Obviously, COVID 2020, moved it all around. But this past weekend, I mean, it was awesome, man.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great race. I didn't have any winners, but it was a good race.
Oh, I never have any winners in the Derby. So, but I tell you what, speaking of winners, it's us three at this table right here.
Oh, yes.
I mean, we are fantasy geniuses.
You better be paying attention.
Fantasy geniuses. I mean, we threw out the picks, and we're going to cover that. Our picks for the Valspar last week, and I mean, they were on fire. My cousin T Rock from the block got on DraftKings, made some money. I mean, and now, Joey, me and you got to start a page, bro.
Actually, me and you haven't done too bad.
No, we haven't. But
throw his picks with our picks.
Well, we
made $1 million
need to start
last
playing
week.
them. Maybe
right.
we need to have a GoFundMe and get us some money so we can start gambling.
Yeah,
I can't afford it, but if I put a GoFundMe out there, maybe I can afford it.
We'll make you more money than Bitcoin right now, baby.
Bitcoin's killing it.
Isn't it Bitcoin?
Bitcoin and
I call it
dodgy
Bitcoin.
money.
Bitcoin because it's a con. I like it.
call
That makes
It
sense.
is a
Bitcoin.
con.
See, did y'all get that? I
I
call
like
it
it.
Bitcoin.
The old
I
doggy
guess
coin. And I was like, oh, doggy coin. Yeah. Use that in Fortnite and see how far you go, bro.
Yeah.
So welcome. And again, our 5th game for Loopers for Life. And we got some stories. And
Hey, next week I think we're going to be in the new set. I think. So
well,
we're close.
that
We're building this state-of-the-art podcast studio that we're really, really excited for people to see. And so there's going to be some really great visuals along with some other kind of bells and whistles. So we think we may be in it next week. So we'll see.
I just did a quick tour of that, and it is going to be spectacular and something that all your customers, Teague, I know will be able to take advantage of. And, man, I tell you what, I mean, the ability to push that out on the social media campaigns and utilize that for your customer base, you can see why that Grace Marketing and Media, they're on the leading edge. So it is very sharp, and I can't wait to be in there.
Well, I appreciate that. And I tell you what, Josh, which is crazy is our little program here, the Loopers for Life, we average about 700 listens a week.
Is that right?
And that's out of nowhere. That's out of thin air. We just started. We just
Still don't have a Facebook page or Instagram page. We are on Twitter.
We are on
follow
Twitter.
us on Twitter,
Yep.
Loopers for Life.
Which I
Please
think is
follow us.
good. I think
Right.
Twitter's a good place to have this, but it's pretty amazing how many people are listening to podcasts. So if you're not doing it and you think you could be good at it, certainly time to get into it.
Oh, the podcast game?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that's why I got into it. Because I'm not good at it, and
Oh,
it was
wow.
time to get into it.
It was time.
Three good things to get into right now: podcast, our picks for fantasy golf,
There you go.
and Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
I thought it was Bitcoin. That is for sure 3 good things right there. So,
It will be Bitcoin later on when it crashes. But
well, last week, we told some caddy stories, and again, one of our features, and I appreciate everybody listening to our podcast, and as we come through, our goals are pretty grand. I mean, we want to be able to continue to cover golf, give you your fantasy picks to play, make some money out there on DraftKings or wherever you want to play it, and then also talk golf in Kentucky. And we've had a phenomenal week here in Kentucky. I mean, like I said, with Derby, just kicks off the golf season. And then now, as we get into truly the golf season, the PGA Tour is going to reciprocate that kickoff because the golf courses are going to be great for the next 5 weeks. You have just on the PGA Tour schedule, and I just want to drop this. Quail Hollow this week, the Wells Fargo, always a quality field, always, it is a major championship course, and a course that has a tremendous amount of history in the game of golf, and we'll speak about that later. But then they travel to Texas and play in the Byron Nelson.
Yes.
One of the greatest tournaments, one of my favorite as a childhood because of all the great Texan players, and everybody was there for Byron Nelson, and he was standing on the back of the green and, really shake everybody's hand after they came off, and a true gentleman of the game, and we'll speak about him. But then after that, the PGA Championship, you know where that's at, Joey?
Actually, no.
My gosh, man, you're my partner in crime here, bro. You don't know? Got COVID brain?
I got chemo brain. Today.
Chemo brain too. All right. I mean, that's a combination right there. I mean, it is at Pete Dye's famous golf course.
Another Pete Dye.
Ocean Course.
Yeah, it's in Kiawah.
Kiawah. I mean, oh my gosh. Oh yeah, you're messing with me.
Yeah, I was just messing with you.
And then the final right after that, coming right out of that, which is really interesting, and I think it's again going back right to Texas and going to my favorite golf stop on the PGA Tour and Country Club, Colonial Country Club, for what is the Ben Hogan Invitational. I mean, that's what it was basically. And although Mr. Hogan wouldn't come over and watch anybody play or shake anybody's hand afterwards, but it is a great stop. And then following that week, I believe they go right to Muirfield. And that's in June.
Actually, have you been to Muirfield?
I have never been to Muirfield, and that's obviously you have.
Yes, I've been up there once. And, the golf course kind of resembles 15 and 16 of Valhalla.
Right.
So when you're up there, you start seeing 12. The back nine at Valhalla. Basically.
How much does it resemble Augusta National? Because that's something that I would actually think that Jack would,
I mean, the caddy pullovers, the caddy coveralls.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, he does a lot of stuff up there. He pulled from Augusta from
right. He has a par 3 that has I can't remember which hole, maybe number 14 or something like it. It's on the back nine.
Yeah, I'm so horrible.
That has the water and kind of bunkering like the 12th hole at Augusta. And always, that golf course is his number one golf course.
Yeah.
I mean,
and the way it's ran is, you can definitely tell.
Oh, it's got to be first class.
He definitely pulled it off.
So something interesting about Muirfield, they're a client of mine here, and I can't tell you because it's NDA, but the membership list there would blow your mind.
Oh, it's crazy.
Well, yeah.
The names on that list. And, look, we've got a lot of famous courses that are clients, and, there's a couple famous people, but, I mean, almost from top to bottom, it's like every famous person you can imagine is a member there.
Well, I used to hear stories, and I don't know how true this is. I never looked it up, but that if you were a guest, you couldn't play unless you were like a 12 or less handicap or something. I don't know if that's true. That sounds kind of far-fetched. I mean, if a guy's going to bring a guest out and he's 25 handicap, I mean, it's his guest.
At the same time, though, I mean, they're not looking for guest fee revenue.
Exactly.
So they're not looking for revenue coming from their guests.
But I used to hear that a lot when I was, at Valhalla for guys who played Muirfield. Like I said, I don't know how true it is. I've never looked it up. But.
Well, it just, being from Valhalla and learning how the game, really I grew into golf at Valhalla. The comparisons between the two and how much the Game family wanted this golf course to be equally as good, if not greater, than Muirfield, his home thing. And, I mean, that's something that Mr. Game had spoke about in the caddy yard when you were looping for him, and then in that game with Don Nuzzo and everybody, because Nuzzo was the personal caddy
of Mr. Game.
Mr. Game.
He was personal ball hawker for Mr. Game.
For sure. But, I mean, just his passion to build a golf course such as Valhalla that was so great, and really say, hey, Jack, we want to pattern this after Muirfield.
Right.
And, obviously the number of golf courses that Jack has built is probably near the thousands, if not more. And, that one is the one that's always continued to be his baby. It's much similar to what Donald Ross was at Pinehurst number 2, and similar to what I'm sure old Tom Morris was at St. Andrews. Yeah. Always looking and making it better and really providing a quality experience. So I would like to go up there.
Let me ask you two questions. So Valhalla just got some love, and they just got named in the top 100 courses in Golf Digest.
Right.
But they're like 93. It's pretty low. Mm-hmm. Where do you guys think Valhalla really sits there? Do you think they should be higher, or do you think that's about right?
Well, that's a great question because, I mean, you got to look at how it sits on that Golf Digest. And so that puts it, they have so many golf courses that they rank, and whether it's classical or modern, and, their ranking is in the modern era.
Right.
And so, at 93 in the modern era, I think, and not looking at any of the names, knowing some of the great golf courses that have been built over, in my lifetime, I would say that's probably pretty high. Only because of the history. I think that, in the history alone, I mean, with hosting a Ryder Cup and hosting PGA championships, that's an automatic inside the top 50 for me. I mean, I now, as far as the golf course in itself, compared to some of the other great golf courses, I would think it's pretty fair. I mean,
Yeah,
in regards to playing that golf course, I would think that's pretty fair ranking.
I've got to agree with that. I mean, we've had 3 of the best tournaments you'll ever watch, 3 of the best majors you'll ever watch. So the history there, the ranking definitely deserves to be higher. But as far as the golf course goes, I mean, I think there were some improvements. 7, adding the water was an improvement on that hole. I don't think they did it any justice by redoing 6. I don't think it's a great hole now. I think it was a better hole back in the day. I think the backside is a much better golf course. I liked the old 17 with the trees was probably one of the most intimidating driving holes. Mm-hmm. You got to agree with that back in the day. They've cleared that out so much that even though it's a longer hole, it's
playing Valhalla just has a different feel. And I mean, and so like when you go and play a lot of those top ranked golf courses, I mean, from number 1 tee all the way to number 18, you have the same sensation. I mean, whether it's through the trees or you're in the heather or you're playing on the ocean. But at Valhalla, I mean, it's just 2 distinct pieces of property.
Yes.
And you have the flatlands down there by the creek and everything that's on that side is very open, very linksy feel. And then you get onto the back 9 and you're playing Muirfield Village.
Yeah. You definitely are doing that.
And ultimately one of the trends now in golf too is cutting trees down and doing that for circulation, but also doing it at a golf course such as Valhalla or some of these major ones that are on the top 100 to host golf tournaments and have viewing lines. Yeah. That's certainly what happened on hole number 17.
Well, yeah, I mean, they knocked the hill down too.
Right, and they knocked it. So, I mean, that has
back
changed.
In the day,
but I do think that's a appropriate spot on that list.
Yeah. I thought it might be a little bit low, but after hearing you guys talk about it, I think
it's perfectly appropriate if you look at everything that's above it. But traditional wise, I mean, I think Josh hit the nail on the head. I mean, it has to be ranked when it comes to major championships
for sure,
up there. But as far as the course, there are courses that are.
Well, when I think it was Mark Brooks won the 96 PGA Championship, and that is one that, could have been and really needed to be Tom Watson's. I mean, Watson made a charge on that back 9. It was spectacular. Only major that he never won. And so, that would have been completing a grand slam and making something. And he knocked it in the water on hole number 12.
Yes.
Or excuse me, on number 13. And how many players knocked it in the water on number 13? I'll never forget.
Phil Mickelson.
Right. He was right there. It could have been his first major. And so, Mark Brooks wins this, kind of being a journeyman tour pro, his only major championship. So who's Mark Brooks? You tell me.
I mean, he was just some Texan dude that was just a nobody.
I mean, he was just a journeyman.
Journeyman. But I've got all 4 of those rounds on VHS. Imagine that VHS tape. I got all 4 rounds.
VHS?
Yes. Well,
beta.
That? I've got them on beta. No. But, I've got on 8mm.
Big Con selling those things too. I mean, if you want to get some VHS, Big Con and Joey Sears, he's got a whole thing of VCR tapes that he can sell.
It's still a fun tournament to watch. And in 2000 was probably one of the best major championships you'll ever watch.
Well, and that's where I was going with this. I mean, in regards to the ranking and history, and I mean, obviously our passion for Valhalla, both you and I, and anybody in Louisville is always going to look at it and just really put it up on the pedestal. But 2000, that PGA Championship saved Valhalla.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Ryder Cup validated Valhalla.
Yes.
And then with Rory McIlroy winning and how he won, and especially against that field, it again put Valhalla at the top where that should be ranked inside the top 50. I mean just on history alone.
Show me 3 major championships that are as exciting to watch, even though they have, you got Bob May, which is no name, and you got Mark Brooks, which was basically a no name. But those 3 tournaments were just absolutely, they went down to the wire.
And when Rory won, it was not a no name; it was a who's name.
It was a who's who. Yeah,
it was a who's who.
Them playing up,
Phil Mickelson and Ricky Fowler were in the mix. I mean, and
then the excitement of playing up that last hole in the dark, and Phil kind of getting a little mad, acting like he was frustrated.
Fantastic,
that they let
and I mean, and Rory just saying, "Hey, let's play." I mean, let's get this thing in because it needed to be in. And I love that. And so I mean, with the history that they gained by having the champions that they've had, and then Tom Watson coming back on the senior club
And
champion.
he won the senior PGA, right?
At Valhalla. Yes, sir, he did. And so I mean, we got to put Tom. Tom is one of my favorite golfers and somebody who I really look to say, hey, that has been the best swing in the game of golf for 30 years. 40 years maybe. I mean, he's played at a high level and he dominated on the senior tour.
Tom Watson
and he
fan.
played more. I am. I love some Tom Watson. So, but I mean, the history of Valhalla has gained from the champions that they've had. I think it deserves a higher ranking.
Yes, and it's going to be neat when they put the Zoysia in this year
For
see
sure.
how much it changes the golf course.
Well, I think it's going to make it better. I mean,
I think it is too.
it's been proven to make all the golf courses better here in Louisville, right?
Absolutely.
And Kentucky.
Interesting. Speaking of Derby, does Bob Baffert play golf?
That I don't know.
Never
I
seen
wouldn't think
Bob
he has
Baffert on
time
the golf course.
I don't think he plays golf. How about Bob Baffert winning that Derby? He was as shocked as
with
anybody.
$1,000 horse.
Oh, I know. And I mean,
He
the
was
great
as shocked as
So
anybody.
guess what? If you pick our fantasy picks, you can make enough money to go buy yourself
Amen.
a horse.
That's right.
Well, I
More
gave
than that.
you, I gave you the trifecta on the boat race, and who came in first?
Man, I'll tell
Bell
you.
Louisville. I mean, it was a sketchy night, and they caught a downwind. They
pick
caught
of
a
the
downwind tide, and just like
The
try to
pick
push them
of
forward.
the week
It was the
was
pick of the week.
Josh's.
That trifecta bet. I mean, it paid off probably $3.33.
Yeah,
I mean
yeah.
across the board, right?
Yeah.
Across the board. So let's talk about some of our fantasy picks last week. Let's talk about the Valspar Championship down at Innisbrook. I mean, and again, I've been fortunate to be at Innisbrook, one of the great facilities for a golf trip, having the championship course on the PGA Tour, and then, they have another course that's called the Island, which is their second tier, then a north and a south, but you stay on site, little apartment complexes, kind of very similar to, what you see around town, but you're right on the golf course.
Right.
And what a great golf course. What a great tournament. We had a fantastic first-time winner on the PGA Tour, Sam Burns, dominated and played well all the way through early, and then had a challenge by somebody's pick from last week.
Yeah.
I thought
So
he had it. He blew it.
He did blow it.
Have we added this up to see what you would have won had you taken our picks? Has anybody?
We haven't added that
Are we
one up, have
millionaires
we?
again?
No, but
No, well, here's the thing, though. You would have had to have had Burns.
Okay, all right.
So this past week, you wouldn't have won $1 million. Now, the week before, certainly.
Yeah.
But this past week, you would have done really well because you had Keegan Bradley. Another one that I threw out there, I played Connors a lot.
he was in second place, and
Yeah.
he's the one that let the tournament go.
The key is you got to have 6 guys that make the cut.
Okay.
If one dude doesn't make the cut, you're done. You can't
Right.
make any money. So, and the key is using some guys that are down at the low end of it
That
that
you
do
get
make
for
the
cheap,
cut.
yeah.
The Chase Koepka was a really good
The
pick
$1,000
that I got
horses.
from my cousin Jordan. That was an awesome pick because he made the cut.
Right.
And it was one of those guys that you get for nothing. So that's how you do well in these type of things.
So last week in that Valspar, and I mean, again, Keegan Bradley was definitely the throw-out pick of the day from T-Rock around the block. I mean, it came out of nowhere, and he has been
Hey, it's
playing
almost
well.
2 in a row we've
Hey,
picked the winner.
Yes, sir, and he has been playing well. And on the 13th hole, the par 3, he had tied the lead, put the pressure on Sam Burns, looking like it was going to be a 6-hole duel coming down, and he flares it out, misses it into the water. He was the only player in the field on Sunday that hit that ball on the bar. Yes, and not only
That's a stat.
was he the
You
only
don't want.
player in the field, that is a stat that you don't want. It was a piss poor shot.
Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely one that, Keegan has off his rituals that he, there was some sort of mistiming right there.
Wow.
Maybe
Yeah,
he needs to come to the golf.
But here
academy
are the
this week.
picks last week, and this is where, when we talk Quail Hollow here in a few minutes and we give you these fantasy plays, you better pay attention. Our picks last week, Josh Snyder went with his Euro. Paul Casey, who was the defending champion, top 21. Went with Justin Thomas, who was one of the best players in the field, not named Dustin Johnson. He had a T13. Mr. Sears, Victor Hovland, he came with a tie for third. How about that? And then the Reach,
the good one.
and here comes the Reach that, just came out of nowhere, and that was Camilo Villegas.
Yeah.
And
Finished 11th, right?
He finished
I know he
11th,
played golf
so
anymore.
you got to
Yeah.
you got to give old Joe some props on
What
that
could
one.
you have gotten? What could we have gotten?
Well,
for
we
Jacobs
haven't even
Ford? Does
talked
anybody
about
know?
no, Cousin T
very,
right
very,
here.
He was at the very bottom.
Yeah, he could have been one of those power plays like Koepka was,
Yeah.
for
Yep.
sure. And then Cousin T Rock. I mean, this Ridge Rock family. I mean, they what they're doing on DraftKings
Yeah.
and his inside information coming from the tour accounts. I don't know how y'all do it, but I do know how you do it because I mean the Ridges have been on the kind of the. I would guess the thumb pad of like what's going on in golf and being
For a long
progressive on
time.
it for a very long time.
That's a good
Club
point.
Pro Products. I'm going to give a shout out.
Yeah.
Give a
Yeah.
shout out to Bill. I mean,
Yep.
and the little birdie clubs.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill Ridge, if you need them, I'm going to look at you right
Hey,
now.
he's
on this
got a
camera.
garage full.
Hey, you got a garage full. I got a studio that needs some. All right, let's go. I need them all. But been on the definitely like had our thumbprints down on what's going on the golf scene, and he comes with this obviously Connors, who's been picking for the last 3 weeks, had a top 21, but I mean Keegan Bradley coming in and definitely was the play of the week, and he finishes second. I mean, and realistically, great to see him play well again.
I got another crazy one for you, so we'll see what
I
happens
can't wait.
with our picks.
Well, I got a couple just off the wall ones over here.
Oh,
too,
is that
so-
right? Well,
yeah.
before we go off the wall one, do you want to tell any more caddy stories today?
Yeah,
Or
actually, a buddy
do
of mine-
do
a
you
buddy of
have-
mine listened-
I want to hear something from Joey Sears.
Yeah, this
right
one
now.
comes from a buddy of mine. He listened to the show and told me the Scatty story. I was not there for this, but basically, he actually gave me two caddy stories. One of them is got something to do with the guy I was talking about last week. He got finished on 18, and this guy's brother decided to pay him in canned goods. I don't know if I told y'all that.
No, you did tell us.
Yeah,
that.
well, I didn't tell it on the air, but he
Oh,
decided
yeah,
to pay
okay.
him in canned goods.
You're going to tell it on the air?
So
I thought this
yeah.
was like
Well, you know,
classified
I
information.
well, I don't
Let's
care.
go.
At this
Joey,
yeah.
that
point-
can't be legal. Like,
listen, at this point,
Me and you aren't caddying
you know,
over at Valhalla, so and then plus this gentleman. I mean, you know.
well, this gentleman
they
did
can look
get
them out.
this gentleman.
We're still not going to call names.
It doesn't matter now. I'm sure you figured out.
No.
This guy was basically embezzled some money from a charity. But so anyway, his brother decided to pay my buddy in some canned goods on 18. He didn't have them there. He told him to come down to the warehouse and get them. So
I like it.
Anyway,
Did he go
gave
get
some
'em?
canned
What kind of
ham-
can-
I don't know if
was
he
it canned hams
It was
or-
canned yams or something.
It was
like that.
Oh.
I don't know what he picked up.
Was
so
it
anyway,
around- it must have been around.
It don't get a whole lot cheaper
Thanksgiving.
than that.
like I said, I was not there for this, but then my buddy told me another story. He said he was caddying for a female, a wife of one of the members there, good player, and one of her guests. And he's lugging this bag around, you know, not really thinking about it. They get to 13, and the lady calls him back over to the green and says, can I get in my bag for a minute? And, you know, she unzips the bag, pulls out her husband's ashes, and decides to pour them in the cup on 13.
Into the cup.
Into the cup. He can't put the flagstick back in because all the ashes are in the cup.
She poured them in there,
She poured them in there. You know, it was kind of like
and it was a guest.
this was a guess, yeah. And it was the ashes of her husband, of her
Wow.
her late husband.
Wow.
And she pours them in there, and my buddy's like trying to put the flagstick back in. They got a group up on the tee, and he's trying to put the flagstick back in. He's like, I can't get the damn flagstick in. Throws the flagstick down, and just walks off. And the lady's like, I can't remember what she said to him, but she said, "Oh, don't worry about putting the flagstick in. He was an asshole anyway." You know. So
That's awesome.
but yeah, I don't have any great ones this week. These are just coming from.
Well, yeah,
couple
we're gonna
buddy
get
mice,
we're
but
gonna get
we will
stories
tell
like
some.
secondhand
That's incredible.
stories. That is,
But,
I like it though. But I mean, you
But
know,
the canned good one, I gotta, you
That's
know, he starts telling me the can because he knew who we were talking about.
we
last
need
week.
to have a caddy day call-in.
Yeah.
show.
Actually,
I mean,
we-
can we make that happen
need
to
one
do
day?
that.
If
Yeah.
we don't get a guest here soon, we'll just have like 2 or 3 people
Yeah.
call, and I had a bunch of my high school kids over at Golf Academy. So, I want to call in and ask you some questions, and I said that we'll have to do that. When
Oh,
they
we
get
could
out
tell
of school.
we could tell
So, I
caddy
mean,
stories, and you know, look, I want to make this clear. When all the years you caddy, and you really only run into 1 or 2 really bad people, maybe once a year.
Right.
Everybody that I've caddied for at Valhalla, and wherever else I've caddied, have been wonderful, great people.
That's right.
It's just every now and then you will catch a guy or somebody.
Somebody
who just-
told me recently is like you always remember the bad ones.
Yeah.
You don't remember who was good and who was
Right.
great to you.
But for every
it's
bad
the
one-
experience that you have when you have a bad one, and you're like,
but I
"Oh,
mean,
I'm
you know,
gonna
you've got
remember
guys like David Novak who were absolutely wonderful. Junior Bridgman, who was, I mean, one of
First
the
class.
most class act guys.
Right.
Well, you had some some guys out there that were just. I mean, I wouldn't trade any of those great guys.
Well, it kind of goes back to the Valhalla comparison of where they're at. I mean, when you and I were there, Valhalla was a prestigious private club that was going to be patterned after Muirfield.
Yeah, very little guest play.
Very little guest play.
Yeah.
And the membership there was the who's who of Kentucky.
Wonderful guys.
Kentucky businesses, athletes. I mean, just the world of Kentucky and the ability from the people that you meet when you're caddying.
Oh,
and it's great. And I mean, those are connections that will last a lifetime.
Yeah.
And one of which is, out there. I was very fortunate to do the same thing. And I certainly understand what you're saying. You always remember the ones that, kind of go the other way on you.
Well, I mean, those are the ones for the stories, but you definitely remember the good people. Like, I mean, Jimmy
Right.
Dan Connor. I mean,
All kinds
Junior,
of them.
David Novak. Just
Well,
I mean,
let me
David
ask you
Snow,
this. I have a caddy question for you. And
Glenn Hogan.
like how did you really decide and what do caddies need to do? What do loopers need to do if they want to continue just to loop all the way through and get on tour? How do you go about getting a symmetric tour bag? Or how do you go about getting a Korn Ferry bag to be able to
I think
those
you can
steps?
still show up in the parking lots for those, especially the symmetric tour. I mean, the thing is you're not going to get paid.
Right.
I mean, you might make $50 a
Right.
day. And I believe on the Korn Ferry Tour, you can still go down to Victoria National, because I've done it, and pick up a bag in the parking lot.
Right.
During the Korn Ferry Tour. The thing is just finding a guy who, like, you click with, and he's going to say, hey, next week meet me at wherever, meet me at this tournament. Hope he gets his PGA Tour card. It's hard. I've done it. It's not fun. It's
Right.
You basically either have to be financially set in your life or just totally off the wall and out of your ever-loving mind to go do it because you love it.
Yeah.
So, I did it in 2001. I chased it, and, but I did it with two other guys, and we were splitting hotel rooms, and we were driving a Toyota 4Runner, and we were slept in that thing many a times.
But you did chase it.
Yes, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. It was fun.
Yeah.
I managed to caddy in 6, 7, 8 different Q schools. I've caddied in the final round of Q school, and I caddied in, which was the old Buy.com tour, which became the Nationwide Tour, which eventually came the Korn Ferry Tour, Nike Tour, whatever.
Yeah, Web.com.
Which was the Ben Hogan Tour one time.
Yeah.
But it was fun, and, you met a lot of guys. And the best thing about it was, if you're an avid golfer and you love the game of golf and you get to see these guys play, you realize how good you have to be to play on tour. Because
Right.
these guys, every one of these guys I caddied for were good.
Right.
And not a single, one of them made the tour.
Well, I would have to assume it's a very tough life. I mean, in the sense of just what you said. I mean, you're kind of going around, and when you're doing it, you're almost doing it for $50 a day or
Pretty much,
$100.
yeah.
I mean, whatever that is,
Yeah.
because
And
there's only
$50 a
one
day
winner,
doesn't pay
and, and just like Cousin T was speaking of, you got to make cuts.
Yeah.
And if you don't make the cut, then you're not getting paid. And a guy like Chase Koepka coming in making a cut on our fantasy picks from last week, I mean, that's going to pay off and
Right.
and help you go down the road. So, that question, like how you become a professional caddy, has been presented to me because when the world now with especially caddy programs, going down, but also caddies programs with associations, up to where all these big time clubs are using the network service.
Yeah.
The
Which is a bunch
opportunity-
of crap in my
Well,
opinion.
it could be. I mean, I don't know anything about it. I mean, but I do know that one thing I think is cool about it is that they can go loop anywhere.
That is the best thing about it.
I mean,
Was
you
if
can
you're
go loop
looping
at Seminole.
if you're looping for a caddy program and you're looping in, say, Toledo, Ohio, or wherever.
Yeah,
Come
Inverness.
wintertime, you've got a job in Florida,
Right.
Because they've got a club down there, and they've got so many clubs around the United States. But the thing is, you could have done that. We all did that 30 years ago. If you looped in Louisville and you wanted to go to Florida, all you did was call Caddy Master in Florida. You called him in July. I was like, hey, listen,
Right,
I'm
but
going to
the
be
caddy master has been
Yeah.
X'd out of the revenue and sheet on most of the clubs right there. I mean,
Yeah.
they're going
and they take a
cut
big
that
part of the
expense
caddy's
out.
money now too.
Right.
But still, if you love doing it, do it. It's fun. But as far as the
you can't
professional,
chase it still, right?
you can definitely chase it still, but you're not chasing it on the tour anymore. You used to be able to, I remember when I called Jimmy Walker because Jimmy Walker was the one who he was caddy for Steve Stricker. He was Jeff Sluman's caddy, and he's from here in Louisville.
Caddy for Kenny Perry.
I don't know if he ever caddied for Kenny Perry. Sanders caddied. For
Okay.
Kenny
All
Perry,
right. I was thinking he.
from
Okay.
Paducah. But so I called Jimmy on the phone. I had caddied at Valhalla for Ted Scholes, and Ted basically said, "Hey man, have you ever thought about caddying on tour?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a while." So he gave me Jimmy Walker. He called me at my house and gave me Jimmy Walker's number. I called Jimmy, and Jimmy said, "Joey, look, here's the deal. Had you called me 5-10 years ago, I'd have told you go out to a PGA golf tournament, walk in, and you'd get a bag in the parking lot." He said, "The money's gotten too good out there now." He said, "So the best thing I can tell you to do, it's getting close to October. Drive down, figure out where there's a Q school, drive down, call down there ahead of time, drive down there and get your bag and hope you get some guy that makes it to the tour." And that's what we did. We drove down to Dixon, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Caddied at Q school, first stage there. This guy I had didn't make it. We drove down to Athens, Georgia, and I caddied for a guy in Athens, Georgia. He didn't make it, but I hooked up with a guy who played at Wilmington, Delaware University, or something like that.
Right.
And ended up, he made it through, and I caddied for him at second stage.
Well, that's the interesting thing about golf is that most of the kids they're dreaming of Alabama and Kentucky and Oklahoma State and USC and all these golf programs. But realistically, if you are passionate about improving your game, you can go to any college.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
D2, D3, NIA, and continue to learn how to play competitive golf, and then move that to wherever level that you want to go in this game. And one of the interesting things that I found out, especially as I have transitioned in my careers and going over and looping in the British Amateur like I
Yeah.
did. These kids are from across the pond. They don't care where they go to school. They just want to come to America to play golf
Right.
24/7 because this is a lot nicer than where they're at. And so they will come, and you will have a world-class player playing on a D3 program that nobody knows about here in the country. And guess what? He's on the Walker Cup team.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, now obviously if he's on the Walker Cup team, most likely he's playing at Alabama or Oklahoma State
exactly.
or USC like we talked
Exactly.
about. But it's an opportunity for, for kids to kind of go, and it's just like what you were talking about, and just looping. I mean, you may pick up the bag and it may be that guy, and then all of a sudden.
Yeah, you never know.
And nowadays, I would have to say that chase is a lot harder because they know the money that they're playing for, and they're bringing in
Right.
their home posses and teams.
Well,
and,
one of the guys who finished down in Athens, Georgia, he's actually playing in this tournament, Bo Van Pelt from Richmond, Indiana.
There you go.
He finished up in the first stage that year. It was
You
2000.
talking about this tournament this week?
Yeah, he's actually
the
in-
Wells
he's
Fargo.
actually
So
in the
let's
field,
talk
yeah.
a little bit about the Wells Fargo. I'm kind of excited because we'll get Cousin T back in here on this thing. But Wells Fargo at Quail Hollow Golf Club, Charlotte, North Carolina. It is a gem of a golf course. It is one that has historically been one of the hardest tests of golf on the PGA Tour. And it's one that has held majors. I mean, and let's start with the 2017 PGA Championship, won by
2017 PGA. Who won that?
Justin Thomas.
Justin Thomas.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
Jesus.
I was about ready to whisper it, but I mean, I was going to try to give you the earphone. Justin Thomas.
Tell you what, it's so funny because I can tell you who won things in 1970, 1960, but you give me any modern day
Well,
golf, and I
This
just draw a
golf course,
blank.
well, this golf course was built to be a PGA Tour stop.
Yeah.
I mean, it was founded in 1960, and of course, I love the golf architecture, so I'm going to research that. And it was designed by a guy named George Cobb. George Cobb, if you do not know who he has designed numerous golf courses throughout the Southeast, but probably his most famous one was a short course. It was 9 holes, and it was down in eastern Georgia, called the Augusta National Golf Club's 9-hole short course.
Yes.
And recently, right after he built that, which was in 1959, he was hired by Quail Hollow as they founded their club, and he built this golf course in 1961. It opened to play and was immediately a tour stop in 1969 through 79. Kemper Open, I believe, was what
Yes.
it was called, and there was always a lot of good players. That was before I was still in diapers around this time.
Oh, come on. You're not that young. Kipper
yeah.
Open was around when we were in high school.
Well, no, not in high school. It wasn't. I mean, because at that time it dropped over. Now the Kemper Open did. It may have moved.
I think it did move to another golf
It
course.
moved to another golf
Seems like it was on a
course, 'cause there
Pete
was
Dye.
always a
It
Kemper-
seems like it was on a Pete Dye
I
golf course
guarantee
because
it
I
was on a
remember
Pete Dye
the
golf
Kemper
course.
Open in railroad ties. So,
Well, Quail Hollow again. I mean, George Cobb. I mean, he is a fantastic architect. Also, a little tie to me. He designed a golf course in Decatur, Alabama, called Burning Tree Country Club.
Oh, yeah.
And Burning Tree Country Club was The home of Josh Snyder's grandparents, and on the 6
did not know
tee
that.
is one of my favorite spots in my life. Is in that backyard with a tee box on number 6 and a bunker on number 5. His bunkers on that golf course, and even at Quail Hollow, are kind of designed like Augusta National.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's always in play, kind of splash bunkers.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. But then Arnold Palmer obviously came in and modified this in the mid 80s. But the major renovation that they had and get back onto the PGA Tour, which it came back hosting a tour event in 2003, was Tom Fazio came in and redid it.
Yeah.
And he's done it twice now and did it right before the PGA Championship, like extended the length. 7,500 yards, 7,600 yards. It is a big boy golf course.
Yes.
Big boy golf course. So when you look at all the plays this coming week, you got to think, hey, who are the guys that are out there that are leading the PGA Tour in stats and strokes gained from tee to green? Because that is what you're going to need. If you're not a long hitter on this golf course, this is going to be a very challenging golf course. If you are a long hitter on this golf course, which, 3/4 of the PGA Tour is long hitters, you're going to play well. And there has been historical play here from some great players. I mean, they are all over the leaderboards. And we have to just say Justin Thomas. I mean, last week he had a T21. I mean, he's up there. He's been working on his putting. He tweeted that out. Last week he was 3.5. He was 3.5, positive 3.5 on strokes gained from the field on tee to green, and he dropped a shot on the green.
He was one of the last in putting, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, and so he really is, saying that he's working on it, but you got to believe that having the history of winning there is going to kind of ride him well this week for sure. Also, too, I mean, who has historically played well on this golf course is Rory McIlroy. We all know that he's kind of fallen down right now. He currently sits at 51 or 15th in the world. So his highest ranking that he's had in over however long he's been on tour, right?
Right.
I mean, because he came out and dominated. And, he's played well here. And then also, too, who's played well here and is in the field this week, too, is Jason Day. So, I think that you look at his quality of play over the last few weeks, he's been right there at the top half of the leaderboard. And this is something that you want to have some players that have played well here. It'd be interesting to see what my cousin T has to say.
Well, let's hear it, T.
On that.
You go first, Joey.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Before we get into that, I just want to throw some local stuff out here. Congratulations to Andrew Stevens shooting a 62.
We're going to come back on that, bro. That's on segment 3.
Well,
so
anyway.
That's the close out, man.
All right,
we'll
talk about that
kid for sure.
All right, we're going to go with my picks here in the Wells Fargo.
All right, let's go with picks.
All right. I'm going to throw in some obscure guys out here, and you get some picks, some price on these guys, hopefully. I'm going with Adam Hadwin, Brendan Steele, and Sebastian Munoz. Which, hey, look, pick them. Good luck.
Adam Hadwin, I mean, University
Don't come at
of
me if
Louisville
they don't
player,
hit the board.
University of Louisville player. He's a Canadian. I mean,
59, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's a fantastic player. Those 59 was in the desert. How come they always shoot 59 in the desert?
It's just easy out there, I mean.
I love desert golf.
Maybe I need to go out there. Maybe I can break 90 in the desert.
I love desert golf. Well, those are good plays. I mean, I like I said, I like Hadwin. I mean, he's been playing well over the last few weeks. Who's the other two that you said?
I said Brendan Steele and Sebastian Munoz.
Munoz is good. I think I took Munoz in that in one of I think it was the partner deal.
Yeah.
So all right. So I'm with Josh. I think Justin Thomas is your top play here. I do think he's obviously hitting the ball great, and I think he's going to get this putting fixed. So I think you got to go look at Thomas. Some guys I think can get you some value. Taylor Gooch.
I was going to pick that.
Taylor's going to have a good week. He's played well here recently. He's kind of like another one of those Keegan Bradley picks that we had last week. I think you got to play him.
You think Taylor Gooch plays in Skechers?
I hope he does.
Yeah.
Does he tip his caddies?
Matt Kuchar, Cooch and Gooch. That should have been a partnership down there.
The Cooch and Gooch.
No, wait a minute. No, it's Taylor Gooch is the one who gave money back.
I know who Taylor Gooch is.
To the guy that bet on him. Did y'all hear that?
Yes.
No, I did not.
So
maybe I better bet on him.
If you put money on him, and I don't know exactly how he figured this out, but basically he played poorly last week, and he said, "Hey, if you put money on him, he paid people back. He Venmo'd people money, and he basically was kind of guaranteeing a week.
I love it.
So that's pretty cool,
let me
man.
He's going to play well this
I-
week.
You know
you
what?
think.
I actually looked at this, and I was going to say Taylor Gooch, and I'm not just saying this, but I actually did. So I tell you what, I like this pick.
Well, there you go.
Taylor
All right,
Gooch.
here's I like Ches Reavie.
Hang on, I looked at that one too.
Reavie's one of these guys, man. He's just down the middle. He's very, very solid. The guy can putt. He's got
He's
a great
lost his
short
card
game.
once or twice, hasn't he?
He
So,
has, but he's had a
yeah.
great year.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
The
a
last
journeyman.
couple of years.
He's a journeyman.
yeah.
Right.
Here's the last one, Gary Woodland.
Well,
I like
there's a
Gary Woodland.
long hitter.
A long hitter. Gary has played awful ever since he won that major.
Yes.
Right. U.S. Open and
But
Pebble
I think
Beach.
he's starting to get it back. I think Gary Woodland's a good play.
Well, I like those. I mean, you know, when you look at it, and especially Woodland, I mean, you need length, and that guy has it. And so, to me, I'm going to give you a couple of names. I mean, I'd name drop JT and Rory. I mean, I think one of those two are going to be your top plays. And when you look at the top half of it, but I'm going to drop a couple of names from that has historically played well here. Number one is Ricky Fowler. Now, Ricky Fowler, the reason why I'm going to pick Ricky Fowler, he's got a sponsor exemption from the PGA of America to play in the PGA Championship. He is not in the world ranking to be able to qualify for the PGA Championship, which was one of the first things. He missed the Masters.
Right.
Started playing well right there. I think he is kind of getting it together. He is a 2012 winner on this golf course. So, I mean, you know, he has that pedigree. Plays well there, hits the ball long enough.
Is he scheduled to do some commercials this
I
week?
think he may be, but I have a feeling that, you know, he's kind of getting his game ready to be
Well, I
able
hope
to
so, 'cause,
qualify.
he's great for golf.
He is great.
Absolutely
for golf.
great for
He
golf.
is one of the
Yeah.
he is one of the guys that you can really look at and say he is a true ambassador for the game
Right.
of golf and brought people into this game. Also, too, you know. Guy that has been playing well and definitely hits it far enough and just hasn't gotten that dub this year, and that's John Rahm, my Spaniard. I think John Rahm is going to be up there. Now, here's the thing about playing John Rahm. He's going to be probably at the top half of your field, so it's kind of hard to say that, you know, he's in the middle compared to JT and Roy, but, you know, he really is. And I think he's going to have a good play. Also, one more on the European side. Get ready for this. Who plays well this week? Francisco Molinari.
I like that pick.
You know why? Again, horse for the course. This guy right here, he's been playing well. 2017, he was tied for second.
There you go.
He was runner-up behind Justin Thomas. So I do like Francisco Molinari, and I think that he is going to be somebody like I have player hated on that I will, because Tiger Woods, when he was playing against Tiger Woods, I player hated that ball into the creek. I will always kind of cheer for that guy now after doing that. And then I'm going to throw, just because we're going to talk Kentucky golf real quick,
Okay.
here is a sleeper pick for you. Can I have J.B. Holmes, please?
Just
Oh,
change
JB.
caddies.
Can
Just
I-
change caddies.
Can I have J.B. Holmes?
Yeah.
He just changed caddies.
Yes.
He made the cut last week down at the Valspar. He is the 2014 champion of this event and on this golf course. So there is a good little feel right there, the JB. And also, too, guess what? I believe JB was teammates for the guy that you were about ready
Yes.
to name drop
Yeah, I
at
believe
the
they were, yes.
USGA U.S. Open qualifier
Yeah.
at Cherry Blossom
Cherry
Golf
Blossom.
Course. We had one of Kentucky's own golf professionals, played at UK, Andrew Stevens.
Yes. Shoot
Boy,
62.
Had it going, didn't he?
And I
62.
understand the rough down there was pretty thick from what
Well,
I've
they
read.
haven't been able to cut.
Yeah. So, you know, Andrew Stevens shoots 62, and then you got Billy Basham made it through. And then I want to throw a little shout out to J.M. Butler for getting through in his area. So all three of these guys are going to be going to the next.
Is that right?
Yes.
Where
So-
was JM? Where did he go
you know,
to
I
qualify?
don't know. I just seen that Marshall had put it up on Facebook.
Well, yeah,
So
JM is a fabulous player, and I've been fortunate
Yes.
to see him play a couple of times and saw him play and participate in the U.S. Amateur down in Pinehurst, and so he has had a phenomenal season at Auburn, and so he's a
Yes.
very good player. So that's
and,
awesome.
And I
man.
got he shot
Did you-
from the 80 from the tips at French Lick last year when I took a group up there to play. He went out and played the tips and shot 75. The course record from the tips is 71. So
Wow.
you know, the boy can play.
Oh, the boy
Yeah,
can play.
I mean, we both grew up playing with his father. So
Did you see Andrew Stevens' scorecard?
yeah, I did actually.
Didn't he? The
Did he
last
have a
hole.
bogey?
Yeah,
He
bogey on
bogeyed the last hole.
Yeah, bogey
To
on the
shoot
last hole.
62.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
So
Every great round has a bogey in it. I
Yeah.
think everybody needs to remember that. I mean, the opportunity to play a clean card in this game is very rare,
And I must have some great scorecards.
Well, yeah, but think about it. What's your greatest round that you've ever shot?
I've shot 65 at E-Town Country Club, and
Did you have a bogey?
Good question. I don't know if I still got the scorecard.
Bet
I
you
believe
did.
I did bogey number.
I bet you did. Everybody does.
I had a 63
bogeyed-
at Maywood, no bogey.
I
No
bogeyed
bogey.
number
There
4.
you go. That's good.
I bogeyed number 1, 2, 3, 4.
67 on Harmony, and that's my low. And I mean, and it was there was a bogey on there. Actually, 2 bogeys. 67. So, that's the what he did over at Cherry Blossom.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the next low was what 68.
67, I believe, was the next. And then,
67 and
About
69
5
got
shots.
in.
I think you
Billy,
had 2
Billy shot
67s.
69 and he got
Yeah.
in, and
Yeah.
but that's phenomenal.
Now, where's the next stage? You know?
That I'm not sure. I think you.
You
I
check 2 boxes
Yeah,
as
you
it
check
goes.
2 boxes,
so like
so they have to figure out.
they give you like here's the stages, and there's 6 stages, and you just check the 2 that are closest to you that you would like to play, or the 2 the best golf courses. I mean,
Gotcha.
I always do that, but so he will be going to the second stage, and on JM, I mean. To be able to go do that too, I mean that's just the future of their game.
Well, I mean, how great would it be if all 3 of them made it to the U.S. Open?
Oh,
Or
man, that'd
just
be
one of
incredible.
them.
Somebody,
Yeah,
one
just
of them.
Just
right.
one of them.
But I mean, how great is the U.S. Open? The fact that you
Can
get
qualify.
to qualify like
Yeah,
this.
that's awesome.
Well,
And
it
obviously,
is.
you see these guys shooting 21, 22. There was a guy that shot 101
Well,
yesterday.
I'm
But
gonna do you one. Hey,
What was he thinking?
well, I mean, hey, look, a lot of guys
Golf
just
happens.
a lot of guys
Golf
just
does
do
happen.
this stuff. I mean,
But I
I
mean-
never, I was never dumb enough to think that I could ever, throw what is like $100 and something or whatever. I mean, but hey, more power. I mean, I know the guys in the field probably hate it when you get paired with a guy like that, but hey, more power to you. I mean, that's the diplomatic
Well,
way
I
of,
just think that
so-
the U.S. Open is definitely the people's championship. I
Yeah.
mean, and it's been great to see them go back and play public golf courses, although they are the greatest public / resort
Right.
and what have you not. But I want to go back and just speak about Kentucky golf and Andrew Stevens and
Yeah.
what they done. J.M. Butler. I mean. Justin Thomas. We can
Yes.
just sit here, J.B. Holmes, and we can name great Kentucky players.
I mean,
that
how
are
about
all
Augustine
throughout.
from
John
Owensboro?
Augustine, he's
Owensboro.
gonna make some noise.
The
That's
boy's
for sure.
solid. He's
Yeah,
solid.
so it just speaks to the growth of the game in Kentucky.
We've
and,
had some great players in the state
the junior
of Kentucky.
programs have been
Yes.
fantastic too, and so they've really kind of
There's
created
been a
these
lot
players.
of talent
and
come out
then-
of the state of Kentucky.
And I could tell you with my thumb on the needle, just like Teague on the Ridge Rock, run the block on this fantasy stuff, and seeing all the junior players there in our city and throughout Kentucky compete, they're going to compete on a national level, and they ball out on the top of the leaderboard. So Kentucky golf is in great hands. Andrew Stevens, congratulations. You got
Definitely.
anything else that you want to hype up on the Kentucky golf scene there,
Yeah,
Joe?
just coming up at Lincoln Trail, there's a 2-man tournament on May 22nd, 23rd down at Lincoln Trail. It costs us $150. I think the field is getting close to being full. So if you're listening to this and you haven't signed up yet, sign up. I'll be dropping out because I'm not going to be able to play that weekend. So there will be one spot at least.
There you go.
I don't think my partner from E-Town wants to play with me anymore. So
He must not know about your course record down there at 65.
Well, that was at E-Town Country Club. This is at Lincoln Trail. So, but then that was many. That was 1998, 99. So, I'd shoot. It'd be the opposite now. It'd be 165. But yeah. So you got the 2-man at Lincoln Trail coming up on May 22nd and 23rd, and it costs us $150. So just give them guys a call, and if you can't get in, at least you might be able to get on the waiting list because somebody always drops out. So other than that,
well, if you ever want to hype anything up on your golf and any of these tournaments, I mean, make sure that you look them up on the Louisville Metro Golf page,
Yeah.
the Facebook page that's out
and
there,
the Twitter page, yes.
and the Twitter page that goes there. And I appreciate everybody checking in and Loopers for Life. I mean, our Game 5, this is another success. Please go out and play our fantasy picks because we're going to get paid. I want you to get paid. Let me get this thing going, T. Let's get paid. Paid in full.